Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time on this channel, welcome to my channel. My name is Silem. Very pleased to meet you. I would like to know your name. Let me know in the comment section down below. If you're a returning subscriber, you've been watching my videos, thank you so much. It means the world to me that you constantly watch my videos regardless. Thank you so much. In today's video, I'm going to teach you guys how to make an off-shoulder wrap top. It's very easy to make, can be done in a couple of minutes depending on your expertise when it comes to sewing. So if you want to see how I make this off-shoulder wrap top, definitely keep on watching. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there.
I'm going to go ahead and just draft on my pattern paper first. What I did was I drew a baseline, and then from that baseline I'm going to have to mark my bust points. So this is the basic bodice pattern I'm going to be drafting first, and then I also mark my under bust, and then I mark the length of the top with allowance. Now I'm going to have to just extend those lines. Now I'm going to label it. BP is bust points, UB under bust, BL blouse length, and AL is allowance, which is just 1 inch allowance. From the baseline again, I'm marking my armhole line, which is 8 inches. That's what I marked down. I extended the line as well. I'm also labeling it as armhole, which is AH. My shoulder measurement is 14 divided by 2, that's 7. I marked that on the baseline. I added 1 inch allowance. I'm also using my ruler to just connect that point to the armhole line, and I label that corner as fold because I'll be placing that on the fold of my fabric. Now I divided my bust measurement by 4, marked that on my bust point, and added 2 inches allowance. I also divided my shape measurement by 4, marked that on my under bust line, and added 2 inches allowance. Now I'm just going to have to just connect those points. Since I'm making a crop top, I just connected that under bust point to the blouse length, and then I connected the rest of the lines. Now to draw my armhole curve, I just got the center of that line, which is 4 inches, and then I just drew a curve to connect to that bust point line. Now if you're making a full top, all you have to do is just divide your hip measurement by 4 and add 2 inches allowance, and mark that on the where you want your top to stop, okay? And then obviously just connect that to the shape. Then you can just cut along the line that you want. So if you want a crop top, you cut it like I did. If you want a full length top, you cut it the other way, with the other line that I marked. Now this is going to be the back piece, okay? Now since it's an off-shoulder wrap top, we're just going to take out 4 inches. We're not going to cut it in, we're just going to go ahead and mark 4 inches from the top. Now I took another pattern paper, folded it, and I'm going to have to just cut the outline. Now this pattern paper, when I folded it, it wasn't long enough to get to the baseline, but I made sure that at least it was long enough for me to have that 4 inch mark as well, okay? So I'm going to keep that 4 inches mark. I'm going to cut it out anyway, so it's fine if the new pattern paper doesn't get all the way to the top. Hope you guys understand. See, I'm now cutting out the 4 inches mark, okay? Now I'm going to take the pattern paper, I'm going to unfold it, okay? I'm going to unfold it. Now I'm going to place the back piece on top of this new pattern paper, just making sure that 4 inches mark aligns, and then from the bottom right, I'm going to mark 3 inches upwards. I'm just going to use my free hand and just draw a curve to connect that 4 inch mark at the top to that 3 inches mark at the bottom. I'm also going to draw the line of my fold. Now, I took out 4 inches, so still place that, and then when I want to check, how deep it goes as low as 10 inches, which is what I just measured now. So if you want yours to be more revealing, you can go ahead and just bring it down. If you want it to be closed, you can go ahead and just bring it up like I'm marking now. So depending on what you want, you can just do that, but make sure that you maintain that 4 inch mark at the top and the 3 inches mark at the bottom. So I'm going to have to just cut my own, and I'm going to cut this times 2 on my fabric, and this is the front piece. I'm also going to write that fold again on my back piece because I had cut it out. Now this is my fabric I'm going to be using. It's a chiffon fabric. I'm just folding it and then placing that part on my pattern paper that says fold on the fold of my fabric. Very important. And I'm going to just cut, you know, the fabric using the pattern. I'm not leaving any allowance while cutting because I already put the allowance on the pattern paper. Now I'm going to open this up. This is what it looks like. Okay, there will be no zipper because this is a wrap top, so you don't need zipper allowance and all that. I'm also going to fold my fabric again. Since I'm going to be cutting my front piece times 2, I'm also going to fold it again and then place the pattern paper of the front on the fabric, and then I'm going to go ahead and just cut along, just following the pattern. And when you take it out, this is what we have. Now if you want to place one piece on top of the other piece, you can see that it has formed that wrap already. Okay, when you take out that front, you look at how deep the neckline is. So like I said, if you want it to be higher, all you have to do is just cut it higher with your pattern paper. Now moving on to my sewing machine, this is the back piece. I went ahead to just weave the top, and I'm going ahead now to just fold it in and sew it down. Okay, I'm doing the same thing now for you know, the front pieces. I also folded them, which is that neckline side. I folded them and then I weaved them rather, and then I'm just folding it now and sewing it down. I did that for the 2 pieces of the front. Now moving on to the back, I'm just placing the back with the front side facing up, and then I'm placing the one side of the front piece on top of the back piece, right sides facing. Okay, so what I did was I made sure that when I placed the back piece on the table, the right side was facing upward, and then I now placed the front piece on top of it to make sure that the right sides of both of them were facing each other. Now I'm doing the same thing for the other side. I also placed the other piece of the front on top of the back piece, right sides facing. Then I'm just going to just you know, join them. I'm leaving about 1.5 inches allowance in my joining because of the allowance I had kept. Now I'm going to just draw my dart lines on the back piece. I forgot to show you guys dimensions, but basically between the 2 darts it's 8 inches. Okay, because of our nipple to nipple measurement, while the length of the dart is as high as 8 inches. Okay, the dart gets as high as you know, the chest line, which is in this case now 4 inches from the top. Okay, so the dart gets up to 4 inches from the top of the blouse, while the distance between the 2 darts is 8 inches. So just go ahead and just mark that and then create your darts for the back. You can see our wrap top is already forming nicely. Now the seam on the right, you want to make sure that you open it up so that the belt you have can pass through. Okay, now before I do that, I'm just going to go ahead and weave the bottom part of my you know, of my top, and then I'm just going to have to just sew that down. Now you saw me measuring that end, and that gives me 2 inches. Now the reason why you have to measure that end is because you need to know how wide your belt has to be, because the belt you're going to attach has to be the same width with your you know, the part where you're attaching it on the top. So I measured it and mine was 2 inches. So what I'm going to do with my belt now is I'm going to make sure that when I'm done with my belt I have 2 inches. Now this is my belt I'm going to be using. It's 5 inches wide, and then the length is 53 inches long. That's quite long because I'm using it for the two sides. I'm using it for both belts. I'm going to divide it into two, then I'm going to use it for both belts. Now I'm folding the belts in half, and I'm just going to just sew it with half of an inch seam allowance. Now by the time I fold it and sew it with half of an inch seam allowance, I'll be left with a 2 inches wide belt, okay, which is going to match with what I measured. So I intend to just sew it all the way, but I left about 2 inches at the end of the belt. Now taking my front piece, I'm also taking the belt as well. I'm just going to go ahead and just place the belt on top of the front piece there, and then I'm going to just open it and use it to sandwich the front piece, okay. So what I did, I placed the belt on top of the front piece, and then I took just one side and I used it to sandwich the front piece, and then I held all of them together, and I'm going to just sew them all together. Now this is the neatest way to insert your belt. See how neat it is, both front and back is seamless. But if you just insert it, if you just join them right sides facing like that, you'd have to weave it, and everybody knows that this is where the joining is. It's very obvious, okay. So now what I'm going to do is that part where I mentioned I needed to open, I'm going to just mark 2 inches width, okay, along that same line. So I'm going to just mark 2 inches, that distance. Now I'm going to tack the top and the bottom of that I'm going to mark those two. I'm going to tack those 2 points rather that I marked. I'm just going to go ahead and tack the 2 points that I marked. Now I'm going to go ahead and lose the seam between those 2 points that I tacked. And once you do that, you should have a tiny hole where your belt can pass through. So when the person is wearing it, they can just pass it through that opening and then tie it at the back. So now I'm just placing the top the way it's supposed to be. I'm marking the midpoint, and then from that midpoint I placed the 5 inch mark, and then I marked the 0 point and the 10 inches point. I also added ½ inch to those points on both sides. I took out the same 4 inches I took out earlier, and then I marked my armhole point, which is 8 inches, and I just drew a curve to connect it. Same thing with the other side, 4 inches, I took out that 4 inches, and then I marked that armhole point 8 inches, and then I just connected it. Now, if you want a detailed story on how I got these dimensions, I'm going to leave the link on how to draft, cut and sew an off-shoulder top in the description box down below. So please check it out so you know how I got these dimensions. Now I'm taking my piece of fabric. I'm using this for my gathered sleeve. Now the width of this is 13 inches, while the length is about 60 inches. So what I did was I went ahead to just make a loose stitch. This is an industrial machine, so I set it on number 5, which is the loosest stitch. Then I'm going to just make 2 straight stitches along the length of this piece. And once I'm done with that, I'm just going to go ahead and just take my elastic. My elastic, I'm measuring about 12 inches because it needs to go around my round sleeve, and my round sleeve is 12 inches. So I'm just cutting that, and then since it's a wide elastic, I just want to just divide it into 2 so that it's smaller, and then I can use it for the 2 sleeves. Now I'm going to go ahead and just I weaved one end on one side, so I'm going to go ahead and just fold that in and then sew it. Now the width of the fold is about it's just a bit over ½ inch, so that it can accommodate my elastic. My elastic is ½ inch. Since I cut the 1 inch elastic into 2, it's now ½ inch, so I folded it to accommodate that my elastic. Now I'm going to go ahead and just gather the piece by pulling the bottom thread. Once I just gather it all the way, and then once I finished, I measured it to make sure that it was okay for my off-shoulder measurement. Again, if you don't know how I got that measurement, I'll leave the link to that video in the description box down below. Now I'm just taking a 2-inch wide piece of fabric that is also 11 inches long to match, you know, that top part so that I had gathered. I folded it in half and then I ironed it. I'm going to just place it on the sleeve right sides facing, and then I'm just sewing it down. When I'm done, this is what it should look like, or this is what it looks like. I'm also going ahead to just insert my elastic through that part I had folded and sewed, just passing my elastic through all the way to the other end. And then once I've done that, I'm just going to just tack the elastic so that it's secure. I'm also cutting out any excess. This is what it looks like. You can also go ahead and put elastic at the top and the bottom. I put only at the bottom, but you can put the elastic at the top as well. Now I'm just folding it in half. I'm just marking the point where I'm going to join. I'm going to sew. So from that point, I'm just sewing it down. Again, please, for the dimensions, watch that other video. I'm just turning this to the right side. Now to join both pieces, I'm simply making sure that the seam lines of the sleeve and the blouse aligns, and then I'm going to just sew them together. Once we're done, this is what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and just put the other sleeve as well. And this is it, guys. I also made a palazzo trouser with this same fabric. I have the tutorial on my channel. Please check the description box if you want to see how I made that trouser. But this is the finished look. So the way I made it, you can wear it as an off shoulder or you can pull it up. How awesome is that, guys? And this is what it looks like when it's up, but I actually prefer it when it's, you know, the off shoulder. So that's how I've chosen to wear it. Let me know in the comment section which one you prefer, off shoulder or full shoulder. This is the top by itself, styled with something else, a different trouser. And this is the trouser style with a different top. Like I said, the link for this trouser is in the description box down below. Bye, guys.